I'll never make it.
Robotech ruled after-school TV in 1985, but its creation hid a fatal secret. Harmony Gold fused 3 unrelated anime, then made one disastrous licensing decision. Today, you'll learn exactly how that choice ended Robotech and who made it.
Good. Level everything in the path of the assault forces, but be careful not to damage that battle fortress. I want to take it intact.
Part 1. The Rise. The Frankenstein birth of Robotech. Picture this. It's 1984, and Harmony Gold USA is in full panic mode. They've acquired the rights to a Japanese anime called m.a.s.k, but American syndication rules require 65 episodes minimum for daily programming. They only have 36 episodes. The entire deal is about to collapse before it even starts. Executives are scrambling for solutions, and the clock is ticking on their investment. The corporate strategy. Harmony Gold was facing brutal competition in the mid-1980s toy-driven animation market. Hasbro's Transformers was printing money with massive toy sales across multiple retail chains. Tonka's GoBots was carving out market share with aggressive pricing strategies. Every studio was desperately searching for the next He-Man, and the formula was simple. Create a cartoon that's essentially a 22-minute toy commercial, saturate Saturday morning television, and watch the merchandise revenue explode. The stakes were enormous because failure meant losing millions in potential licensing deals. So Harmony Gold literally engineered Robotech to exploit a loophole in syndication regulations. They acquired 2 additional unrelated anime series, Southern Cross and m.a.s.k, and hired writer m.a.s.k to splice all 3 shows into one continuous narrative. They rewrote dialogue, changed character names, invented connecting storylines, and created what they marketed as an 85-episode science fiction epic. The development costs were relatively minimal since the animation was already completed in Japan. They just needed to hire voice actors and writers for localization. From a pure cost-benefit analysis, this was genius-level arbitrage.
How's it going? Everything okay?
I'll be okay, Roy.
I don't care how you are. How's the girl?
The launch success. Harmony Gold coordinated a massive multimedia blitz for the 1985 launch, investing heavily across multiple platforms simultaneously. They partnered with Matchbox for a 3.75-inch action figure line, designed to compete directly with Hasbro and Kenner in the crowded toy aisle. They licensed novelizations to Del Rey Books, which became a massive success under the pseudonym Jack McKinney, eventually spanning multiple story arcs. They secured comic book deals with Comico that would run for years. Everything aligned perfectly, and I mean perfectly. The timing was impeccable. The show achieved what executives call cult phenomenon status almost immediately after its debut. The novelization series sold millions of copies, making it one of the most successful science fiction book franchises of the decade, rivaling established properties. The merchandising revenue was substantial enough that Harmony Gold immediately greenlit a direct sequel series without hesitation. Comic book sales were strong enough to sustain multiple ongoing titles and special editions. From a business perspective, Harmony Gold thought they'd discovered the holy grail of entertainment franchises. They'd created a transforming robot franchise without having to fund expensive original animation production from scratch. The toy partner was committed with multi-year contracts. The licensing deals were printing money from books, comics, and merchandise. Revenue was flowing from multiple streams simultaneously, creating what looked like a sustainable business model. The market penetration was impressive by any standard. Robotech was competing head-to-head with established franchises and holding its own in ratings and toy sales. Industry analysts were taking notice of this scrappy upstart, but Harmony Gold executives were about to make one of the biggest strategic blunders in animation history. And nobody saw it coming.
And where were you, Claudia?
What are you talking about, Lisa?
Part 2. The Fall. The licensing nightmare that killed everything. Okay, so this is where the executives completely destroyed it, and I mean completely. This is the kind of mistake that gets taught in business school as a cautionary tale. Here's the fatal mistake. Harmony Gold licensed Robotech from Tatsunoko Production without securing the merchandise rights for the main mecha designs from Big West, the original Japanese rights holder. I'm not kidding. Harmony Gold built an entire toy-driven franchise without actually owning the toy rights to the main hero's transforming jet fighter. They were selling toys they didn't legally control.
Phew. Hi, Roy.
Just who do you think you are? What were you trying to do? Get yourself killed?
The business domino effect. The consequences hit immediately, and they were catastrophic on multiple fronts. Before Matchbox could release a transforming toy of the VF-1 Valkyrie, literally the main character's signature vehicle and the centerpiece of their entire toy strategy, Hasbro quietly licensed the exact same mold from Japan and released it as the transformer called Jetfire. This legally blocked Matchbox from selling a transforming version of Robotech's most iconic design. The competitive advantage evaporated overnight. Now think about this from a business perspective. Your entire toy strategy depends on transforming robots. That's the competitive advantage. That's what differentiates you in a crowded market. That's what makes kids beg their parents to buy the toys instead of another transformer. And your main hero's vehicle cannot transform because your direct competitor owns the mold rights and got there first. Can you imagine being the Matchbox executive who had to explain this catastrophic oversight to the board of directors? Heads were rolling in those meetings. The revenue collapse was immediate and severe across all product lines. Without a transforming Valkyrie, the Matchbox toy line was essentially selling generic action figures in a market absolutely dominated by Transformers and GoBots, both of which had superior transformation gimmicks and better retail placement. Sales underperformed projections dramatically, missing targets by significant margins. Matchbox began pulling back support almost immediately, reducing production runs and canceling planned expansions. Then the currency crisis hit like a freight train. The yen-dollar exchange rate crashed in the mid-1980s, making Japanese animation production prohibitively expensive for American distributors. Harmony Gold had greenlit Robotech 2, The Sentinels, as a direct sequel with high expectations. But when production costs exploded beyond acceptable margins, Matchbox withdrew funding entirely. Can you imagine being the executive who had to cancel a sequel series after only 3 episodes were produced? The embarrassment was industry-wide.
Wow, what were all those fireworks about?
I don't know. I better go check. Wait here. I'll see what's going on.
The structural business flaws. But even if they hadn't made that licensing decision, Robotech had fundamental business problems that doomed it from the start. The entire corporate structure was fatally flawed. Transformers succeeded because Hasbro owned the entire supply chain from top to bottom. They controlled the toy designs, the animation production, the distribution networks, the retail relationships. GoBot succeeded because Tonka followed the exact same vertically integrated model with complete ownership. Both companies could respond instantly to market feedback and adjust toy designs or storylines accordingly, without negotiating with foreign partners. Robotech tried to split the difference, and that's always a losing strategy. Harmony Gold controlled the broadcasting rights, but not the merchandise rights. Matchbox controlled toy distribution, but not the character designs or underlying IP. Tatsunoko and Big West owned the original animation, but had no stake in American success or market performance. Nobody had full creative or financial control, which meant every single business decision required multiple layers of international negotiation and legal review. Decision-making was paralyzed. When you look at the financials, Robotech was doomed from the licensing structure alone. The revenue had to be split between too many entities across multiple countries. The legal exposure was enormous because nobody had clear ownership of the underlying intellectual property. And in the brutal animation toy wars of the 1980s, that fragmented corporate structure was a death sentence. You cannot compete when your competitors control everything and you control nothing.
Captain, what is it? What are you laughing about?
The legal quagmire. And then Harmony Gold made everything exponentially worse with short-sighted legal aggression. Rather than admit the licensing mistake and negotiate a resolution, they launched a decades-long legal war against Big West to protect the Robotech trademark in Western markets. They effectively blocked any new Macross content from entering Western markets, which stagnated the brand completely and alienated the original fanbase who wanted new content. The franchise became legally toxic overnight. No studio would touch it because the IP ownership was a nightmare of competing claims and international jurisdictions.
I was busy fighting a war. I guess you didn't read about my having shot down 108 enemy...
Part 3. The Aftermath. The corporate aftermath, and who killed Robotech. Here's what happened to everyone involved in this disaster. Matchbox discontinued the toy line within 2 years, writing off the investment as a total loss. Carl Macek left Harmony Gold and struggled to launch new projects for decades, his reputation damaged by the franchise collapse. Harmony Gold shifted focus to real estate and film distribution, keeping Robotech alive primarily as a trademark protection strategy rather than an active franchise. It became a zombie property. The IP's journey. Today, Harmony Gold still owns the Western rights to Robotech, but the franchise exists primarily as a nostalgia property with minimal commercial activity. They've attempted multiple revivals over the years, and every single one has been an embarrassing failure that reinforced the franchise's reputation as cursed. Robotech 3000 was a CGI pilot produced in the early 2000s that was immediately ridiculed by fans for its generic animation style and cancelled before it aired a single episode. Robotech Academy was a Kickstarter campaign for a new animated pilot that failed spectacularly, raising only 39% of its funding goal despite heavy promotion. Sony Pictures announced a live-action film adaptation that has remained in development hell for over a decade, with no production start date in sight and multiple directors and writers cycling through the project. The only modern success was Robotech Battlecry, a video game released in 2002 that achieved moderate sales primarily from nostalgic fans who remembered the original series. That's it. That's the entire modern legacy of what was once a multimedia juggernaut generating millions in annual revenue. The contrast is devastating.
It looks great, but how does it handle?
Well, why don't you just climb aboard and see for yourself?
The business lesson. So here's the real lesson, and this applies to every entertainment franchise attempting the toy-driven model. You cannot build a toy-driven property without owning the toy rights. Period. That's not strategy. That's corporate negligence of the highest order. Robotech succeeded initially because Harmony Gold executed a brilliant arbitrage play. They acquired cheap Japanese animation and repackaged it for the American syndication market at minimal cost. But it failed because they fundamentally misunderstood what business they were actually in. They thought they were in the television business, producing content for broadcasters. They were actually in the toy business, where television was just the marketing vehicle. And they didn't own the toys. That's business suicide. The tragedy is that Harmony Gold made a terrible licensing decision at exactly the wrong time in the market cycle. If they'd secured the merchandise rights in 1984 before launching, Robotech could have been a billion-dollar franchise spanning decades. Instead, it became a cautionary tale about intellectual property ownership and corporate oversight that gets referenced in entertainment law courses. But Robotech wasn't the only franchise that executives destroyed through catastrophic licensing decisions and corporate incompetence. Which corporate blunder made you angriest? Was it the cancellation of your favorite show? The toy line that disappeared overnight? Or the sequel that never happened because executives couldn't negotiate basic contracts? Now you know the real story behind why your favorite transforming robot show vanished from television and toy shelves. The suits ruined it. They always do. Until next time,